Oh, full dead. Okay.
I'll switch to you. Some of the major victories explain.
Okay. Okay. I mean, you haven't even seen the stuff yet. I mean, look at this, Parker.
Yeah, I'm looking at
This one?
Mm-hmm.
I'll grab it for you.
I just want to find a spot to put the. Okay.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So this is live right now. Can people hear us? Yes, maybe. That's what I want Alex to go test. Okay.
I will get this equipped, and then I will give it over to you, Parker.
Oh Jesus, I have to go now.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
Is it?
we're definitely gonna.
Oh, that's right. It's under apparel for some reason.
Figure out a guy. Tell people. I don't know if we told the audience, but that's actually. Oh, beautiful! Look at that. Got a little console guy. Yep. That pummels.
Well, wait till you actually hold it. Oh, okay. Is this the... No, that's carpet. Okay.
Think about a good spot to put the camera.
Severed plants and some candy cons.
Ooh, okay. Okay, are we already live? We should be going. All right, I'll go test the audio. Yeah, we've got a real mix of audio. I was just translating a part of an Arabic treatise today, and so it's fascinating. The extra rope we have on the Kalkans, Dale, you know, like the one I have. It's totally so you use it as armor. It's like it tells you exactly what it is. It's like I've never seen a shield use this way. Huh. Take the rope, put your right arm through it, and the rest of your left shoulder. It's a big wicker shield, right? So when someone's coming in, use the lance, you move forward, and take the lance to protect your head. You guys have people. Or, like, even if you do take impact, you can cut it loose and let it go, and it will take the spear off your opponent and you can shoot them with the body. Huh. It's an easy one. Like that. Put it on your back. Just like use this little shimmy. That's it. All right. You want to give it a shot?
Do you want me to try it out?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's adjust the headset to you first.
Big-headed Parker.
Yeah. So I'm also prone to headaches, so I hope this is okay. Oh wow! So this is how it is.
So move to a spot where it's comfortable on your head.
That's comfortable.
If you like move it up and down, you should see it will get like crisper and blurrier.
What I like is that it isn't. I still know I'm in reality. Oh, here are all the swords. Oh, I just hit you, didn't I?
Yep. Underneath here. So if you reach underneath
Okay.
this button
Yep. This one.
there, that will adjust your intrapupil distance. So if you press that down and move it left and right.
I'm not finding the button here.
Yeah, there it is.
This one?
Yeah.
It's not pressing.
Just
Oh, there we go. Okay.
you can see like
Oh, I see.
part of it, like it should get a little bit better, or it should start to make you feel a little bit cross-eyed. You want the not cross-eyed.
Oh, but I want to be cross-eyed.
And if you want to throw
There we go. I do want to throw. Okay. Ah!
okay.
There we go.
So there's that.
Holy shit.
There's that.
Okay. Very nice. So I can walk in here.
Yeah. If you see a grid, you're starting to get close to the edge of the playable space.
Ah, okay. That's what I don't want to be.
Stick on your left hand
Whoop.
on the carpet.
It is Mercury in retrograde, so if anyone's going to get hurt, it's going to be me today. Hey, look at that. Wow, and it's got the Yalman and everything. It's just like our sword. So should I be giving a spiel or anything, or am I just kind of doing stuff?
I guess we're technically live. What I figured is,
We should probably have Dale give a spiel here.
yeah.
Okay.
I figured I would give an intro to what we're actually doing.
This is incredible. Just hope they're not soaked in peanut oil. Come on. So this Kulkon's interesting. It's very, I have to keep it out more. It isn't like mine, which covers more distance. Oh, we've our Hungarian sabers over there. Hangers there. The Fornovo sword. Ooh, what's in that brew over there? That's what I want. Do you? Yeah, let's. I should probably limit my banter then, for a live audience. Jesus. I was not there in Qatar in 2003. Whoop! That's a thing. There's 3 people watching. It's my parents. Hello, world.
So I hate to kick you out, Parker, but I figured I would take over and give a brief introduction to actually what's going on.
Do you need me to
Yeah, like I'll take over.
Okay.
Stand there in your room and get disrobed.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah, virtually.
That's what Oakeshott's all about.
Parker, say welcome to Invictus Immortal.
Welcome, everybody.
Here, I'll take your hands.
Okay. Okay, then this comes off.
Yep.
Okay.
Crazy, isn't it?
It's very fun though.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be that fun. Witcher 3 with this would be like, you would not see me for weeks. It's too much. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we just going to keep this one going?
This stream?
This stream?
Yes, I believe so. Is this different than the one that?
No, I mean it is. I'm just wondering because if it is, then we can put something in the chat.
Oh, sure.
That was surprisingly really seamless. Like it's not really jarring.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay. Let's go back to a clean save. Bill did say he was gonna swing by, so he'll be in chat. Okay. So here we are at the top of the world, but you all know Skyrim. Basically, the whole point of this stream is an excuse for us to get together and drink and play Skyrim. But we also need to be educational, so I guess we'll talk about the swords. I am Dale, and I am the one who does all of the digital things for our... Oh, Jesus. Okay. Hello. I run a business that does 3D scanning of art and artifacts for museums. I primarily work with the Cleveland Museum of Art, where I serve as their head of digital image management and 3D modeling, 3D animation, something like that. I figured we'd just let the person do that whenever they're in the headset. Ah, sweet. So you already know me, so I don't need to introduce myself. This is a space that I created. That's not in-game, is it? No. Okay. To store all of the scanned weapons that we've done. So I started an initiative several years back now to do 3D scans of a bunch of the swords in the Oakeshott collection. And sitting on a bunch of 3D assets seemed like a shame, so I wanted to find some way to use them. So a while back, I started working on integrating them into Skyrim. So now I have this mod where we have a variety of swords. I think we have somewhere around a dozen pieces from the Oakeshott collection, a half dozen or maybe more now from the Higgins Armory at the Worcester Art Museum, and one particular piece from the Cleveland Museum of Art, all of which may expand in the future. Basically, what I wanted is for people to have the opportunity to be able to pick up the swords as you would whenever you come to an Oakeshott talk, to be able to interact with them, but then to be able to do all the things that we either have fantasies and or nightmares about as Oakeshott people. Yeah, exactly. So I was telling Jeffrey and Bill this earlier that when I was messing around with this before, I like picked up particularly the 7-ring rapier and then accidentally dropped it, and my heart just dropped. I was like, oh my god. But oops, shit. Nope. Yep, yeah, when I do occasionally accidentally shout the pieces off of tables. Those are the default carpets. So I figured we would just pick like 1 or 2 pieces that we want to talk about, scoop them into our backpack, and then go out and kill some things with them. My particular favorites, probably the sabers. Yeah, we can scoop things. For you guys, just so you know, any of the weapons, so we can use things in 2 hands, right? So we have the opportunity to use 2 weapons at once, which gives us an opportunity to do things like rapier and dagger. Which is nice. I was experimenting with a little bit earlier. The problem is you can't actually parry with the parrying dagger unless you turn it into a shield, which I tried but was having some issues with earlier this afternoon. Yep. Gotta actually work on my fencing. But when you're not using things in 2 hands, whether it's a one-handed weapon or a 2-handed weapon, if you hold your other hand near it and hold the trigger, now you can use things in 2 hands, which is really nice. Am I safe? I think I am. And like we've got enough space here that we can really move around and fence, which is something that I wanted to experiment with. So I'm definitely going to take the Schloss and the mace and the transitional sword because I love them. In addition to these pieces, the one piece I wanted to show you all, which we will use later, is the crossbow that belonged to the Elector of Saxony. I think I mentioned this before the stream actually started, but this particular Elector of Saxony, he was a huge competitive crossbow person. So he had a lot of crossbows for competition. And all of them are quite finely decorated.
Say something about the process of modeling something this detailed.
So it's mostly in the scans. So we do the scans via a process called photogrammetry, where we take hundreds or possibly thousands of pictures of an object from every angle. And then we use software that will generate a 3D model, but the 3D model is large, usually extremely high resolution. Most of these would be 5 gigabytes or so.
Can you hold it up and just hold it steady to show the screen of some of the details?
Yeah, like this one is particularly nice because it's got all of this engraving, but then like on the trigger here, it's acid etched, and actually the bow itself is also acid etched with hunting scenes. On the inside, it's hard to see, but maybe we can do it there. There's scenes of several rows of deer running into nets. And on this side, you actually have the hunting party, which is interesting. I love this crossbow in particular, mostly because it's furry at the end. but this gives us at least one ranged option against dragons, which is nice. And actually, yeah, I think we do have a not as nice, but a similar, possibly contemporaneous crossbow.
Which is what I'm getting out of the case right now.
Yeah, so Nathan's going to pull it out, and we'll hold it up to the camera. I'll actually see if I can't blow up the camera a little bit. Actually, one of you might be able to do it. So if you hover over the camera view, if you just click on that, you can just make that large, and we can show off the crossbow. Yeah, so camera's over there.
Yeah. So here is a. That's a real one as well. Here's a real one in person instead of really virtually. Look at that. So you can see the ivory inlay, stock, steel arms on there.
Yeah, I'll stand next to you so that get the audio.
Yeah. So around the same time period.
Yep.
Is that one as heavy as this one?
It's pretty heavy.
So I weighed this crossbow and it weighs 17 pounds.
Yeah.
Which is this half-inch steel bow.
That is one downside to the Skyrim one. I'm not super experienced with rigging things, so I had to make it to scale of the game crossbows, which means that this one is a little bit small.
Sure.
Um,
Pretty cool. A
Yeah.
crossbow and a crossbow.
yes, exactly.
Nice. I'll throw this one back.
Chad's a bit surprised that you're able to get this level of detail in a game this old.
So, honestly, so am I. Yeah, what do you mean? What other games are there? It's Skyrim forever. Yeah, so the details mostly down to the textures. As I was saying before, each of these models, when I get the high resolution scan, is in the several gigabytes in size. Can you shrink our? Okay. And then I need to simplify these so that people can view them on Sketchfab or other platforms. And then I need to simplify them even further to be inside of a game like this. So if we think about something like this Viking Age sword, so this sword, the initial model was probably probably 10 million polygons, and I needed to reduce that down to about 800 for the game. So this is vastly simplified, but all the detail is then contained within the textures themselves. Skyrim, I think for the special edition, started supporting 4K textures, which I think is the maximum that it supports, which allows you to get this insane amount of detail on the sword. This one I think turned out particularly well because if you look at it just right, you can see the pattern welding in the blade even in game, which is a ton of fun. This sword in particular, just so people know, only the blade is original. This is a product of Oakeshott and kind of is a nice example of interesting historiography of the piece itself and kind of a continuing history beyond its original use. Is the crossguard and pommel and this oversized hilt, oversized grip, were all added by Oakeshott so that the sword could be handled by people. I think that's correct. I'm not making that shit up, am I? Okay. And I believe that we speculated that this was a river find, and that this side you can see that there's actually accretion, like there's much darker corrosion on this side than on this side, which is probably from the scabbard. So here on this side, there's a lot of accretion on the surface, whereas here you can see the pattern welding in the fuller there. Oh, okay. Maybe what it all looked like. Okay. And this one is also up on our Sketchfab page, so you can go and look at the high-resolution 3D model on your own computer as well. Just you wait. The one other piece is I wanted to show people, which I'm super happy with how this turned out, is this helmet that we scanned over the summer at the Higgins. So it's just a spectacular piece. I don't know much about this one, but I do know that the modeling process was fairly interesting because of how thin this brim is. When we went to capture the inside, actually I can hold it. So Bill, you held this like this in your arms while I took pictures of the interior, and just the fact that you were holding it, cupping it in your hands, actually bent the brim a little bit, such that I ended up with kind of two different versions of the model. One where it's resting on its stand and the brim is in one shape, and one where it's upside down and the brim is another shape, because it actually deformed a little bit because this is so thin. So if we look at kind of the interior here, I'm gonna shit. Whoops, disregard, sorry. I was gonna say we should look it up online, but wait, I thought about this. All right, what does it say? Okay, date about 100 CE, medium, bronze. Weight 5 pounds 4 ounces. Bronze, consisting of skull, brim, and comb. Skull is rounded, its brow is embossed with 2 pairs of curving ribs filled by raised dots. A Hercules mask is applied on the brow between the bands, so we can actually see that here. So there's that mask. Yeah, there's the little bossets here on either side. Yeah, so here, I'm gonna put this down for a second. They're talking about the cheek pieces. You can actually see them, the 2 hinges on either side there. So we've got those remnants of the hinges. I wish it had a face guard. I would love to do a speculative face guard of this and also put some horsehair in the comb. Arms, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this tall, curving, riveted comb with sides embossed, with raised plain panels. And it has, I'll show the fan in a little bit more detail in a second. Yeah, the lion's head at the tip is also super cool. So, if we take this, we can actually, I think, here, it'll be easier if I do it like this. Good question. Bill, is this functional or ornamental? I don't know. This is outside. More ceremonial? Kind of like a parade helm. Yeah. So here you can see the little lion, the tip, and then this like modestly decorated compared to the rest of the piece comb. Mm-hmm. I've been wondering what this is. There's, yeah, but look at this little loop. There's this a little bit of both. Okay. You can actually see on the interior these kind of rivet supports through the comb, which is really interesting. That's something that I was really happy that we were able to get with the scan and even be able to put into a model like this in Skyrim where things are very simplified. So a closer look at the hinges. Love it.
And so those would have been.
Oh shit, I've made a mess.
Hung down with cheese.
Yes. Okay. Those are my swords. Let's wait. 13 hours. Anybody else want to show something off? Talk about something?
Alex, you should do it.
All right, I can jump in.
Yeah. That pull out thing is less adept Sim Earth.
Oh shit, yeah, Sim Earth. Sim Earth and what was it, like Sim Zoo? Was that one of those?
There's Sim Zoo, Sim Ant.
Sim Ant.
Run that shit on the
No,
Okay.
fancy computers. You just gotta learn DOS. For the days.
All right.
So you need a.
I might need a little tighter on the grip head, and then I think my eyes are slightly closer together than yours. No, a little too far. There, that should be good.
Okay.
Okay. So, hello, Internet. Alexander Greff, fellow with the Oakeshott Institute, specialist in late medieval and early modern material culture and the impacts of medicine as it applies to the wounds caused by swords. How much? About potions? About what kind of potions? Like magical potions that show up in the beginnings of certain sword manuals? Well, it's funny you should ask. A lot of them were determined to produce qualitative results, but a lot of it is also limited based on the lack of the standard scientific method that we might expect today. Although, if anybody is interested, we also have our Halloween lecture up here on the same page where another one of our fellows, Dr. Amanda Taylor, tested, was it the 3227A specific recipe? Yeah, the 3227A fencing manuscript has a magical armor glaze recipe in the opening pages. We tested it out. It's mostly like ground mealworm and buck's blood, rutting buck's blood. That's particular. And tested that along with a metallurgical expert at the University of Minnesota to see how does this compare to standard smithing techniques of the period for durability of armor. And biggest surprise, I think, of all is that it ended up being more like a bit more brittle than just standard methods of forging for the armor. It did make it hard, but brittle, similar to like a cast iron perspective, right? So speaking of, oh, hold on, there's nope. I need to do this. Presentation. Is it right here, Dale? Where's the I don't want to teleport.
Oh yeah, so it's in the VR. So
Oh, VR. I got.
VR.
Gotcha.
And then there's movement mode. Yeah.
Perfect.
You're a real VR player now.
Well, yeah. Okay, I wanted to do that. Oh, is that the case? Nope. I'm still teleporting.
All right. Nope, apparently this is still teleportation. Oh well. Is there a way we can do this without resetting? Because I wanted to, without knocking too many things over.
So go back and try again. Like try VR, smooth mode, direct movement, and then just go
No.
direct movement, and then don't press A.
I pressed the trigger, but I think maybe that.
Teleportation,
Oh no, I see. And then sorry.
and I think just squeeze go back.
There we go. Yeah, okay. Because you had in one of these boxes somewhere another piece of memorabilia we can work with. Nope, it's not in there. Where did you... Aha! Here is the other thing you hid. So tell us a little bit about the difference of working with textual models versus artifacts. Yeah. So we have, I mean, I can talk about this as the Walpurgis Fett book, one of the earliest extant examples of a fencing manual, at least in a European tradition. Sword and buckler, specifically depicting a priest teaching a young student the process of learning how to fence. And I don't know how much of this you modeled. Do you have Walpurgis in here as well?
I've got a lot of places.
Hmm.
I just took scans. I just took the scans.
Mm-hmm.
This was super easy compared to making the 3D model.
All right. So I'm gonna work with, where do we have the Venetian arming sword? All right. So a transitional piece from the, oh, that's not what I want. We'll figure it out eventually. So something that I found really interesting about the process of working with, working with a lot of these artifacts in a VR space is just the sense of using this in a way that you might normally expect to use it in your fencing practice and finding that it doesn't translate totally to a VR space. So I just need to de-equip the magic. Okay. So how much... Yeah, I mean, take a look at...
Alex, can you tell the interwebs what you like about the sword?
I would say, if nothing else, it is just an archetypal example of simplified design of the late medieval period in terms of a hand-and-a-half sword. Very simple ring guard for the hand. You have a lot of the maritime motifs of the shell work on the pommel and on the quillins. And it's just fantastic dimensions for anything that you would want to do arming sword-wise. So you could, for example, compare it with the Kalkan or buckler, effectively.
Especially because that buckler is centered grip.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is more your area of expertise, but if we wanted even just to emulate the sense of what we were looking at in the Walpurgis manuscript. So, general sword and buckler work. And that actually might account. So we were discussing a bit earlier that for a lot of these, as I'm looking at the grip and where the hand position is, The phantom imitation of holding the sword actually is about an inch farther down the pommel, this direction, than the way it appears right now, which is, I mean, there's already the sense of there's no weight associated with the actual sword, which makes it strange to be able to do anything similar to how you might actually use a sword of this kind.
And your sword wins every cut too, which is quite nice. Regardless. I mean, Alex has it anyway, but just yeah.
Oh, nope, someone stepped into the world. Okay. But even like, so I am not a Montante expert of any kind, but how strange that you have dimensions that are Do we have questions? Anything in particular? Mm-hmm.
I do see your comment, Scott. We do technically have two mics. I've got one off of the camera.
So one of the things I love about this sword, Alex, if you hold it up,
Yeah.
is that you can see, so tilt it up a little bit more. There you go. So the parrying lugs on the blade of that sword, you can see that they are cut and split from the blade, right? So they are chiseled out and then forged back from the blade, which is pretty cool. And this is the way that some Montantes were made, and other ones, the ones with the bigger kind of diamond-shaped parrying lugs, those were mostly welded on to the blade instead of being split off. And they were both historical good ways of doing it. There were two different construction techniques of these swords, and that one.
So it's really, it's just these lugs that were part of the original blade, and you said just
so
pulled
you
and
can
welded
see,
back.
Like where it essentially
Oop.
it
Sorry.
cut and then heated and moved outward. You
Okay,
can
so
see where
Nathan,
it
you are
fits.
standing in front of the lighthouse, which is why it's freaking out.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Okay.
Right, so you can see how those parrying lugs, if they were folded back in, would fit into.
The exact same space.
So you should hop in at some point and talk about the guard on the transitional sword. Why we went from feeling very mediocre about that sword to both personally starting to love it.
Is that one still on the table?
You'll have to show me how to pick them up. Maybe Alex can pick it up and then I can talk about it.
Yeah, where is the...
Blindly flailing
It's in
around.
the inventory.
Oh, it's in the inventory? Okay. Nope. Okay. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna, hold on. I'm over encumbered, I think. Yep. Nope. Nope. Hold on. There we go. We don't need the actual Skyrim weapons anymore.
Yeah. Put the transitional sword in the left hand.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
So this piece is very interesting, and so
Staying close to him so you're getting on that mic too.
so when Dale and I were at the Higgins this past summer, this sword is one that Jeffrey Forgang had chosen for 3D modeling, and we were sitting there, and neither of us liked it at first. Like it appears kind of flat and 2D. So Alex, if you hold up, you can see that the pommel is really thin. Right?
Disconnect my hand.
The guard on it
Here, I'm
is
gonna do something real fast.
relatively simple, but
Oh, yeah.
I'll give it flame.
There we go.
There, so you can actually use that to light up the...
Oh, that is pretty awesome. You can see the writing on the blade, right? And so this piece is like it looked kind of simple and dwarfy, honestly.
Yeah.
It was like a sword my pit bull. At first, he's a very nice dog, right? But as we looked at it for 90 minutes or 2 hours, well,
Yeah.
thousands
Very
of
close
photos
to
were taken.
staring at it.
Yeah. turn it. There you go. Yep. There are all kinds of aspects of this that are just stunningly beautiful. And so the cross section of the knuckle bow is square, it's rectangular, right? But it transitions
Oh,
into
someone's in the tower range.
You're holding stuff in front of your face.
Oh, that's probably why. Aha.
it transitions into a round. Right? So the arms that hold up the Thor ring, the complex ring around the garden, are round. And the transition from the square to the round on those rings is super elegant.
Here, can I actually take over for a second?
Yeah.
This is something that didn't happen by accident. It's a lovely sword. Actually, when you sit here for 2 hours and look at it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Performing geometric feats that could be done
Oh, get back here. Oh. It's fine. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
The
you can see that this arm is round. Well, this one here is squared.
and the transitions between the square and the round bars are just super elegant.
Yeah, it's incredibly subtle. This is a piece which will be released on Sketchfab on the Worcester Art Museum Sketchfab page.
And if you want Arsenal to make it, I don't know, like call us and say, I'll pay you thousands of dollars to make this, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, we'll totally make it.
Uh, one thing that I love about these two swords that we were just talking about is, well, it's fine. Two manifestations of a seashell motif. That on the sword in my left hand, we have this round pommel with this kind of tri-lobe seashell meeting at the end, and then the same thing is echoed in the terminals of the quillons, whereas here we have this kind of flat seashell motif, again present on the pommel and then echoed on the ends of the quillons. It's very cool to see two different people's interpretations, not that far apart from each other, probably in time or in space.
Yeah. They're both Italian for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the one with the more complex guard is that maybe 50 years after. Maybe.
Maybe.
It could be closer to.
Yeah.
You know, all us too, so like, I don't know the Fornovo sword, quote unquote, right?
So this is not the Fornovo, right?
No, I think the Fornovo is actually based on a painting of the battlefield. But yeah, this one, I don't think we knew anything. And the letters on this sword are a mystery.
Which ours or?
On the Higgins sword, right?
Okay.
I think that's the one that we were trying to read. And it just, to you and me and Jeff Forgay, if I recall, didn't seem to spell anything that we could decipher.
Right. Granted, we were just sweaty sitting in front of a turntable, like shooting the shit, trying to figure it out. So yeah, we were mostly hungry.
So I'm sure it means something, but it's
Yeah.
not clearly a word.
Right.
Super elegant. Both of these also, look at the geometry of the blades, right? So these are both
Hexagonal.
sectioned blades. So they're not traditional diamond section medieval swords, and in fact, diamond section swords are way overrepresented in the contemporary period today. Like reproductions tend to be diamond section, but we see lots of period pieces that were hexagonal or even flat, like
Mm-hmm.
Moonbrand.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
I do particularly like this sword because even though down here it has that hexagonal shape, you do transition to having this fuller and then like 3 fullers.
Up there. Awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
Shit, where did Moonbrand go? Did we?
Or we should stand closer to the headset for any.
Yeah, well, sorry, this is mostly meant as a test stream anyway. We're gonna sort audio stuff for the next one. Can anyone read those?
Okay, so we've got, let's see, writing.
I'm gonna reset.
Question about where we ended up getting the box was also answered.
Didn't you get it?
No, it was through Amanda.
No. Did we get it? I think we got it from a red deck.
I mean, it's,
I think that's
it was
right.
Minnesota in deer hunting season. You're going to be able
Yeah,
to get
it's-
something on box supply.
But there was an issue because she froze it.
Oh.
Changed the viscosity or something.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Where's Moonbrand?
Moonlight, I think, is in the inventory still.
I don't see it.
They love blood. It's good.
Question about the differences between medicine and torture in a medieval period. Torture had a very particular application of coercing information, or just a specific confessions, and wasn't necessarily
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily
that shit outta here.
disconnected from.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just getting the mic as well. It wasn't necessarily disconnected from medicine, but medicine specifically in the medieval period, for the most part, is not internal. So anything that they would have called medicine up through really about the early modern period would have dealt with trying to maintain the natural faculties of the body and not splitting the body open unnecessarily, or violent action, as it was referred to. Although, can you go and pick up the, there is one of the
All right.
little
We should restart real fast.
Okay.
Just because I've had this bug before where our swords are slowly disappearing.
Oh,
Uh,
we just need to reset.
yeah, I'm just going to restart the game. So
Okay.
here, I'll give you this.
We were grabbing a battle axe to also show how video games writ large for entertainment purposes have different interpretation of how things like axes look.
No, that's actually good. We can compare to some of Skyrim's weapons.
That's fine. All right, we're gonna. Oh, I'm on the table. Oh. Okay. Restart.
So we should definitely.
Yeah, let's briefly talk about axes. Maybe Parker, do you want to talk about or some? Well, let's talk about axes, and then maybe you can talk about some sabers if you want.
I think I'm qualified to talk about sabers here, but we do have this really nice axe.
Yeah, if Nathan.
I'll show you guys an axe. Sure. So one of the interesting things that format allows us to do is to compare fantasy weapons with kind of historical ones. So this is a faithful historical reproduction of an 11th century Dane axe. So if you look at the Bayeux tapestry, there's a whole bunch of these axes displayed. It's on about a little less than a 4-foot shaft. It's made of ash with this head. And if I turn it this way, you will see that it is an 1/8 of an inch thick. It is a chef knife
This is like
stick.
2 inches thick?
Yep, that
3
one
inches thick?
is gigantic, right? Huge, super
Yeah.
thick.
Show the cross section again.
Yeah. So, yeah, it
Uh,
is.
And if you can just have your right hand a bit out, Dale, so we got the screen split. There we go.
Yeah, so it is super thin. And that's because this is an axe for cutting meat. The head of this axe weighs much less than a normal wood axe because wood doesn't run away when you try to kill it. It just sits there. So this axe is very fast and maneuverable and super deadly. But video game axes and movie axes tend to be really thick and bulky, mostly because they're made out of foam, so that they don't kill people, because this is about the killiest thing that you will ever touch.
My bodyguards love them.
Yep, exactly. This is a terrifying weapon.
So here we're looking at Moonbrand versus the Imperial sword, and just the thickness of the blades.
So the Imperial sword is a sword from Skyrim.
Correct.
Yep.
So you can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, real sword versus a fantasy sword.
So what's the rough periodicity
It's 14th century.
Like early 14th century, I think, right?
Yeah, so it's a 14th century arming sword. It was like early 14th century.
Yep,
Yeah,
I think so.
early 14th century. So
Say it with your chest. It's early 14th
it's an
century.
early 14th century arming sword, and it is super thin. So the last foot of that goes from 2 millimeters to half a millimeter, right, in thickness. It's tiny, skinny little sword that's for killing people who are not wearing armor, while you are wearing armor, because armor was expensive. So you're wandering around in chainmail and maybe a little bit of plate, slaughtering the hell out of all of the people that don't have armor with this fillet knife, which Alex is going to bring on the show.
So one thing that the model allows us to see, not necessarily in a video game, but just the actual high resolution model, is we can look at this cross section. We were talking about hexagonal cross section blades earlier. At first glance, down here towards the end, this appears hexagonal. But once you actually look at the cross section, you see that there is actually a very slight fuller going all the way out to the tip. But it's, you know, 1/10 of a millimeter difference between the thickest and the thinnest parts of the fuller. But it's consistent and present throughout the whole thing, which is wild. Yep, and it's something where Craig actually showed me you can feel it with your fingers as you rub. As you run your fingers, if you pinch the blade and go from one side to the other, you can tell that there's that slight concavity, whereas just looking at it, it's not super apparent to the naked eye.
And so the reason to do that in sword design is that you're reinforcing the edge of the blade. So by moving metal, by moving metal from the center of the blade closer to the edges, you're producing
Oh shit, the real thing.
a slightly thicker area close to the cutting edge, which is a bit more resistant to damage. So that moving that material makes it more functional.
That's fine. Yeah, okay. Do you want to talk about sabers, Parker, and then...
I brought one out, so you want to hold?
Sure, yeah, I'll grab...
I can take over.
Yeah, I'll grab the real one, and then you can talk about the real one in VR.
So, this is a really nice saber that we have. Let's pull up the VR version. So we call it a clutch. You know, some folks would say it's probably not a tried and true, you know, Ottoman style clutch, which we actually have another later example in the collection from the 19th century. But this is a real workhorse of a sword. Yeah, just directly where you were. What's really incredible about this sword is that it's one of the few examples of something that isn't incredibly elite or elegant or something that you would save in a museum or belong to some noble person or some, high-paid cavalier. I mean, it's a real workhorse of a sword, and those often don't get saved, particularly in the context of Islamic or Eastern Europe. Usually the really nice swords get saved, and these don't get saved. They get recycled, they get melted down,
What?
sold off.
Two in a row. Okay, why?
So that we can see both swords.
Oh, I mean, that doesn't change where it's on my screen, right?
Here. Oh, no. There we go. That's perfect.
Okay.
That way Parker can see what he's showing you on this.
Ah, okay, okay.
Like a better comparison here.
Okay.
So you heard my spiel about this being this nice workhorse sword. It's really rare to have one of these intact in such a nice fashion. So this is probably a early 18th century or late 17th century model. Could be even earlier. There could be parts of it that are earlier. The blade itself is probably Eastern European, most likely Hungarian or Romanian, we would call modern day parlance. But what's fascinating is that the actual hilt furniture itself is endemic to a lot of Ottoman swords that come up early on, and whether or not it was actually Ottoman is something we don't know. We don't have the provenance for this sword, but we do have it in the collection, and it's wonderful. The crossguard here is made from a single piece of like twist core steel, and it's or actually it's a forged piece, I think, and it's well reflected in the Skyrim model here with a single pin holding it together in the middle. The tang itself, when you pick these blades apart, it's curved and is to facilitate better cutting functions and grip, especially this rocking back and forth motion. So having a tang that's curved that way and a grip that accompanies it makes it really easy to just squeeze your pinky and have it go forward, and facilitates a better cut if you know what you're doing. Hexagonal grip and pommel, which is really cool, and it is well displayed in the Skyrim model that we have here. So this is one of our favorites. It's super nice, really light, really maneuverable. Really fun to use. Skyrim.
Sorry.
So the Dane axe from the 11th century, chain mailed. Yeah, mail armor would have been the predominant armor, and it was also expensive and relatively rare. So if we look at the biotapestry, we can see the Norman knights and the English, Harold Godwinson's knights, are wearing armor, but a lot of people aren't. And so that axe isn't going to cut through mail. Really, you can't cut through mail very readily. But on the end of that shaft, if you hit someone who's wearing armor with you'll still harm them very badly. And I mean, that will kill a horse, and will kill anyone who's not in armor, and people who were in armor. The back end of that axe is a hammerhead. So these things. The back
Shit.
side-
Sorry.
It's okay. The back side of it is a hammerhead, which if you hit someone who's wearing a chain with this, they're gonna know it.
We got another saber up here. So the model that we have here is.
Ah, shit. Fuck. Sorry.
We didn't say this was magic.
Yeah, for adults only. Wah! Ha
That's only.
Heyo.
My fellows can throw swords, right?
Shit.
Party is just throwing all the.
All the Oakeshott swords.
See what cuts. So we know what
Yeah, sorry.
Just a bit.
So funny. You can tell we're having a blast over here. So this
Okay.
is an example of or the model that you see in Skyrim here is modeled after our excellent Hungarian saber that we have in our collection. One with a pretty big false edge you can see here, which is replicated in Skyrim, which I'm curious to see if you can do false edge cuts.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Okay, that's like my favorite thing. This piece in particular is probably late. Well, let's see here. Mid 17th century, probably at the earliest. Could even be a little bit earlier than that. It's endemic of Hungarian style, or even Polish sabers of that period of the kind of golden age of saber fighting in Eastern Europe, which is like my favorite thing. Really big crossguard, which is different from the sword that we just showed you because of usage. So this could have been used on foot, could have been used on horseback, but you were expecting to parry with a thicker blade. You can see the blade thickness is a little bit more robust, and it's a little bit heavier. So this can take a few parries. The blade that I just showed, the potentially Ottoman or Ottoman vassal blade, the quillins are much smaller. There's very little hand protection. So you're most likely going to be using that with a shield or really trying to not get hit in the hand. So you're chasing enemies down, you are trying to capture people after a battlefield, or as we discussed in the case of a Dane axe, enforcing the will of the person who's paying you against unarmed opponents. So this blade handles beautifully. It's definitely something that can cut and thrust, but it is optimized for these really big, excellent drawing cuts from the elbow, and it's really well represented on the screen.
So the thing that I find the most impressive about this sword is that it has, for the entire length, 5 parallel fullers
Yeah.
that are exactly parallel, following the curve exactly.
It's something that's a hallmark of these types of blades. So they'll have 3 or more different fullers. There were 2 in the one that we saw just previous that were a little bit more robust than these. These are like tiny, pencil thin, and go all the way up the blade, and even come down to where the base is. Like there's a little.
Yeah,
between you.
there's this I was wondering about this step up towards the end here.
So one thing about these early sabers.
Before you
Sure.
go that, can you tell a little bit about the function of the folders? Why are they there? Why are these thin ones particularly noteworthy or useful?
Good question. So in part they reinforce the edge, like we talked about before, like the general purpose of fullers. They lighten the blade a little bit, so you have a little less blade on the blade itself. Especially for these sabers, which can get super heavy and you'd be using them one-handed. And also just a part of the style. So, in addition to all the functionality, if you were used to making blades with 5 fullers, and it's a way to distinguish your blades as being something that will be trustworthy for you as a purchaser, then it'll take off and it'll be a part of blade culture overall.
Well, this is just such a display of skill to be able to
Yeah.
put not just one large fuller, but to
So in a
put
lot of these
5
blades,
parallel.
well, I want to talk about the spine in a sec, but a lot of these blades were made to be exported into Eastern Europe, where there was a lot of constant conflict, the sort of Habsburg borderlands and constant border raidings that took place in the Ottoman-controlled parts of Eastern Europe, against Habsburg and Venetian and Genoese powers, right? So, let's review the fullers here. So this blade could have been made in Italy. A lot of these blades were made in Genoa and were sent off. Could have been made in Austria. So, when you say this blade is this nationality, it's kind of a misnomer when you think about all the composite parts. They've been used by Hungarians or Poles, right? Wallachians, even Ottomans, right? But it is endemic of a Hungarian style. You see these nice these crossbars here. That's part of the crossguard, and these were. Sure, yep. So you can see this little gap between the blade and the crossbar here, not the crossguard. And this is to when you sheathe the blade. It isn't a sword catcher, as some folks may claim. Try fencing with one of these and catching swords in them, and it will not happen.
You'll lose some fingers.
You will lose some figures, yep.
Are you just talking about the languets, or okay?
So, this is actually to allow for the blade not to get corroded in a scabbard. This is ingenious little invention that there's these little springs, if you will, that when you pop this into a scabbard, it keeps the blade protected in the scabbard and not touching the sides.
Put you on the spot. What do you know about Ottoman daggers?
I know a little bit about Ottoman daggers. That's a really nice one. I wish we had a Ottoman dagger to show in real life. We have a Jamia, and a few other Middle Eastern Islamic daggers, but it's okay.
Read quickly while I stab myself through the eye.
I'm seeing a number 3.
Not the extension number.
Or are we trying to look at the... Maybe we should do the inventory view. Do you need me to read some Ottoman calligraphy?
Yeah, possibly.
Yikes. Hope all my old Ottoman teachers aren't watching.
Here, actually, yeah,
Oh, I should do VR.
yeah. We'll toss you into VR and you can look at the.
I love
That's
lightsaber.
other cases.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to get to.
All right. Sorry,
No, you're good.
hands are all sweaty and gross.
So, as we're switching out, Nathan, can you maybe talk briefly about creating precision, say with a fuller in a historical piece versus what you as a blacksmith today do?
Sure. I mean, I think that
Oh, you want the hands?
I guess. Should I have the
those
hands?
Fullers, especially in later swords, are often aesthetic.
Sorry,
That's
I'm
okay.
trying to grab this tag.
It's the sword.
I will be the funniest.
It's
Or
just
like
floating in space right now, so I figured you could just walk around it.
So they're. I mean, they have a function. It's not a blood groove. Right? That's not something that happens. You can stab your piece of meat and pull your sword out. It doesn't get stuck. But it.
okay.
Uh,
Oh, I see.
they're pretty. And this is one of the big functions of a fuller is aesthetic beauty and a demonstration of skill. So especially if you look at something like a Cinque Dea, these kind of Renaissance swords, and later the fullers. The small fullers are purely decoration.
Yep.
Right? They're not doing anything else. They're just decorative.
And it establishes your brand, right? I mean, a lot of what we encounter, right, is, I mean, half of it is the form and function meeting together, you know, but we also, as historians of this type of material culture, we have to think about market demands, you know, trying to establish something that will make you reputable in a, you know, period of time where it was hard to establish those kinds of reputations.
Oh yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah,
having these little,
people are trying to sell these things.
exactly,
Yep.
yep. So I've got like, you know, like my village, I can produce like an extra fuller. So you should buy my sword instead of the one you'll get from Genoa.
Oh, totally. People in the tavern are like, oh, a 6 fuller.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it common too that you have different parts of a sword made by different shops?
Yes, 100%. So this is a fun fact that people will really enjoy. So we all have heard of the famous Damascus blades, right? Damascus steel. So the term actually Damascus sword refers to swords bought in Damascus. Damascus was only really a selling point and a assembly place for swords that would have been made in villages all around Syria, all the way through the Silk Road going eastward. So you'd have a blade maybe made in Transoxania, Iran, you know, Turkestan, these types of places. Then the blade would make its way to Damascus, which was closer to the Mediterranean, closer to more accessible trade routes, and get assembled with a nice, you know, whatever kind of grip that you would want, right, and scabbard
So
and stuff.
Cutlers would take a blade and make it a sword.
Exactly.
Yep.
So all we see is the finished product, and it takes on this sort of mystique, right? But it's pre-modern marketing in a sense. You know, there aren't really like made in Damascus as such. Certainly they had their own blade makers, but not as famous.
Sure.
I always like that. I know, right?
So what about that dagger?
So I'm going to try to read it here. It's kind of blurry. So I think we've got a Masha which is like what God has willed. So a lot of these types of daggers and swords have benedictions on them, or prayers or things that you would want to either protect you in battle, or if you die, at least you used a weapon that, furthered some sort of cause, getting close to the afterlife or something. So an example we have in the Oakeshott collection that we don't have a model for. I know this one's just spinning around, but I'm trying to read it. I can take a look and see. An example of this that we have in the Oakeshott collection is one that's all it says, it's just like these two lines, two hemisticks of an Ottoman Turkish poem. It's like, in your hand you need a sword, and on your tongue you should say, "Thanks be to God." Like, that's it. And another example that we have is one that's like, if I die on the battlefield, God should know that I died a believer, so I should go to heaven. These types of things engrave some blades, thinking about, where you might end up in a battle, right, in the uncertainty of war and combat. So this one just says, "Thanks be to God." Da, 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 da. It might be verses from the Quran. I need to see it elsewhere.
This is from the Higgins.
Okay.
This is not a piece that belongs in the Oakeshott.
I wish. Woof.
It in the
Nice.
entry it says that on the base of the blade it says made by Othman. I'm wondering if it's
Could be.
yeah.
Let's see here.
If it's actually on the.
It's funny to see it so blurry, but I thought I saw an Uthman or an Osman there. Could be. Yeah, I need to see a better example to give you a better translation, folks.
It might actually be clearer on the screen than it is in the headset.
Well, there you go. Well, all my old professors and colleagues, they can go translate this for us.
So, Parker, you've been very scholarly, but you were also a scholar of art using some of these weapons. Do you want to give the saber work a try out in the wild of Skyrim?
I would love to. This is you're going to see an incredible show, folks. This is my first time, one, playing Skyrim. I know, like nerd, not playing Skyrim before. And then two, first time ever in VR. So I'll need directions on how to go pick up a saber.
Why don't we? I'll take over and I'll take you to somewhere.
Okay.
Kill beasts and people.
That's what I want to hear.
You were having a little bit of motion sickness, though, right?
Am I?
Were you?
No?
Oh. Do you want to try it from horseback?
No. That's a very surefire way to lose all the fettuccine Alfredo before this. There's like a cognitive dissonance with like, because you're there and like, oh, I just walk over, but you have to stop yourself.
Okay. I'm just checking to make sure it's all right. What should we take with us? What are we going to fight with?
I think you should take a two-handed sword, a saber.
Well, what does chat want to see us fight with?
Which weapons should we kill things with? That's always the
Where's? Oh, it's in armor. That's right. Okay. We also didn't really show off any of the rapiers. I'm gonna take the 7 ring because that one's.
So, just a request to show how to block with a sword in Skyrim. So, maybe a rapier, maybe a long sword.
Oh hell yeah! And of course I'm gonna take the.
For those listening in, that type of dagger, I mean, you might have it for last minute self-defense. It's something that nice with the gold filigree. So, something that nice with the gold filigree. Can you show the Ottoman dagger?
Yeah. Well, this is how you block with a weapon in Skyrim: is you just hold it sideways, which is really disappointing. So we're going to use distance because we can move in space.
I mean, aren't distance parries the perfect parries?
Yeah, if you're parrying with your weapon, you already screwed up.
So the Ottoman dagger, if you bring it up. So this
Yeah.
is like, I mean, you would never ever, despite it being sharp and incredibly, killy arm. Yeah, I mean, risking that would be risking something worth, tens of thousands of dollars equivalent, right? In the past, something that you can have with you, and then, like, if something happens to your family, or you need to barter, or whatever happens, you've got this as an asset to give away. So absolutely not. Something like the other Ottoman saber that I showed you, the kulich that we have, which is very much, that is a workhorse weapon.
So Chat would like to see draugr punished with the Montante.
Hell yeah. All right, let's do it. We'll take that. I also want to take the mace because I love the mace. We've also got, we didn't talk about it, we've got the Henkel's hanger.
Sword is throwing weapons.
My favorite sword.
That is
Okay, I'm going to take...
Which, if you wanted to be flip book for tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we're doing another stream tomorrow, where we are doing kind of lightning lectures where we're each going to talk about our favorite pieces in the collection, or associated collections. I'm going to talk about a couple of sabers that I personally own.
Question about the serrated blade as well.
Oh hell yeah, we didn't even look at the boarding sword. I neglected.
Did you program that book to give you skill?
Yeah, when you read about the helmet, you gain proficiency in heavy armor.
So I need to ask you. So Dale, I have a question to ask you.
Sure.
The audience may be interested in. So did you program in stats for these weapons?
Yes,
And are they superior to other?
they're mostly equivalent to dwarven or elven weapons, but lighter because everything in this game is way too heavy. All right, boarding sword. Yeah, let's take a look at the boarding sword. All right. A mystery wrapped inside an enigma, wrapped inside a boarding action.
So this sword, modeled at the Higgins, and got to handle it, play with it, measure it. And the plan is to make one of these. There's
Yeah.
another one.
Bruce,
Whoops! Fuck.
At looking at this one and the pictures of the one in the Prince's storage, I think they were made by the same workshop within a couple years of each other. They're probably the same batch, because I personally think that this was a sword where someone was like, "Hey dude, wouldn't it be cool if?" And the sword maker was like, "Yeah." And they made a few, and they survived because
So this one is interesting too, because of how asymmetrical and uneven all the serrations are. Why do you
Yeah.
think that would be?
I have no idea.
Someone
So the idea
Did
that
the super
we've
fast.
heard is that they're described as boarding swords, and that the serration was maybe for cutting rigging or something like that. You can see that the tip is about a 3/4 inch square reinforced stabbing point, but that serration actually, I think, would be worse for cutting rigging than just a normal sword. And
If only we could know.
reinforced point is usually for armored work, but this is pretty late. It's an enigma wrapped in a serrated mystery.
I may have a theory.
So maybe Dale, you can show off the weapons while we're walking towards some draugr slaying.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Keep talking about maybe say something
Yeah.
about how would we actually know about
yeah. Actually,
still here.
Well, we're gonna.
I
make
am
one,
sworn to carry your
and
burdens.
that'll be really helpful in trying to think about it. Yeah.
A theory I might have in looking at this, we need to look at some other examples. It's right here.
Let's get going then.
yeah. Now Lydia's decked out.
So again,
Hell yeah.
this is not something that I can necessarily substantiate, but so the Portuguese were they sponsored and directly benefited from the Kingdom of Congo for hundreds of years, to the point where there's this fascinating
historical and sociological ramifications of their involvement, which like created these circumstances where it just completely changed
Gal like you,
society
suppose
in,
so. You've
in
got
ways
a
that
deal.
didn't happen in other
It's the one with
European
the saddle.
colonies at the time. But one of the things that occurred
Oh shit.
in the Kingdom of the Congo was an indigenous firearm and sword production, whole cottage industry that included weapons like these that would have used local blade design with hilts that would have been taken from the Portuguese. So we've got a pretty, I wouldn't say robust, but we have some substantial Central African pieces that immediately brought to mind some Portuguese examples I've seen, or Congolese Portuguese, or even Congolese weapons from the 16th and 17th centuries. So who knows? But
We should sit down and talk.
honestly, yeah. I think your explanation, Nathan's, probably more plausible, but it's. But yeah, we don't know.
I do love, like, everybody gets distracted by the serrations, but the back edge. Oh, it's too bright outside. We'll go inside somewhere dark and we can look at them. But it's not straight. It has those alternating. Yeah. Which seem to serve no purpose. Bandits?
Scary looking sword, which is part of the weapon design, is having something that your enemies are like, oh shit.
Or your own troops. You have to, your troops are just as, your retinue is just as likely to kill you as your opponents.
All right.
So, I mean, I think that, one of the
Find me
things
someone.
that people don't know is exactly as stupid as this.
Oh fuck, someone's in front of the lighthouse. Ah! I'm trying. It's super nauseating. Oh my god. I'm trying. We will do a whole, I would love to do a talk just talking about the differences between different nations' cavalry sabers during the Napoleonic era, using the examples that we have. Because I've got an example of French light cavalry, and I'm looking to get a heavy cavalry saber as well. A carabiner or a cuirassier. And we've got several 1796, and also we have like that quill point saber, so it would be a fun talk to do.
So, are you able to stay in that high cavalry guard?
Yes. Yep. Although it, like I said, is a little bit nauseating. Wah! Nope, it's maze time. Oh, thanks, Lydia. All right.
And so this mace in Higgins is pretty big. It's actually the size it looks in your hand looks kind of right.
Yeah.
It's a little bigger, but one of the interesting things is that the shaft of that mace tapers from the butt down to the head, but it's also hollow.
Yeah, that's what these two holes
Yep, those holes
on either
go
side.
through. And so the whole thing is file decoration on the outside, but the shaft, it's all steel, definitely hollow. And so it's much lighter than you might think it would be. It probably weighs 60 pounds.
Someone there?
And it's,
Oh, Jesus, Lydia, please. Yeah, that's Lydia. I gave.
I just cook and clean and do
All right.
whatever it is they ask of me.
No. You just needed to get hit with a mace. Doo-doo-doo. This is fine. Come on, Lydia.
Like I'm supposed to figure out which college.
Don't worry.
Who's? Run!
Well,
That helmet is a fashion.
yeah, I was gonna say this is the first time this mace has had blood on it in 500 years.
So you've got the Kokon in your left hand too. Can you
Correct.
talk a little bit about that? This is not one from our collection. Yeah, which one's the Kokon from?
This is also from the Higgins, so this is at the Worcester Art Museum. Which this model is online if you want to go and look at it. If you go to the Worcester Art Museum Sketchfab page.
So I can talk a little bit about Kokons. They are really incredible pieces of technology. The word itself is Mongol, and is a very old word for shield, basically. They, sort of.
You're doing okay. You get a pass today.
Wait till we do our next group. So the shield that we come to know as a Kalkan from Mongol and using more Turkish. They were typically comprised of like a wooden.
Oh, Jesus.
With metal, like metal blocks in the center, and then spokes coming off of the balls, and then going off to a larger wheel around it. And on the inside of the shield.
Oh, that was you.
think of
Jesus.
Like a layer of wood, the metal going around the shield, and then the boss in the center. We have wicker. We use modern folks call wicker, but canes or beads that fall out. So barrier throughout it, and it makes it almost like a spider web for sharp objects. We've cut. I have a reproduction Kalkan that we have from Mamluk Archery. People should go buy Mamluk Archery stuff. They're incredible. Turkish company that makes excellent.
No, make them pay us for.
Yeah, yeah, make them pay us in Kalkans. No, I would never. But so we've cut off my Kalkan before, which is an excellent reproduction, and we found that you get a pretty substantial bind. I would say maximum 5 seconds worth of bind with a sharp, which is a life, like for a fencer, that is life or death. Yeah, I mean that's like if you get it correctly, and the real ones are even more. So the one that you'll see on the screen here, they're even deeper and better at catching sharp weapons. So
Huh?
Oh.
the point or the edge of any weapon, and we see this actually in Islamicate martial arts manuals. So I've translated parts of a Turkish manual. I'm working through Arabic language material. Both of them talk about utilizing the metal part of the shield or the wicker to bind your opponent and effectively render them able to take them out and neutralize them.
So you see similar elements on Western European bucklers,
Yes.
especially these iron radiating spokes, and this cross in the middle are not purely decorative or structural. They serve that purpose of actually catching blades. Like to the most extreme version where you'll see on some Western bucklers where you have elements like this actually proud from the surface where they're raised up on supports, such that like it really wants to catch a point if the point comes in at the shield.
Mostly rattan. So mostly wicker.
We can-
rattan, probably. If this is an example, this example is probably Kurdish. It's a more of a Kurdish style, one-handed. Well, they're all one-handed, but this one wouldn't be gripped from a forearm grip. It would have been a more of a
Right in the
grip.
center.
Center grip, exactly. But the rings around it allow you to add extra reinforcement. You can change it to be more of a forearm grip. They were designed to be versatile this way. I just got done translating today whole sections of a manual that talked about how to have rings on your shield so you can use it as armor. You can carry the shield on your back if you're riding on horseback to not get hit in the back. You can carry it on your shoulder
So it effectively serves as extra armor for your shoulder and your head. It's an incredibly versatile weapon that, because it's mostly made out of rattan, wicker, willow, particularly Eastern Europe, think of the Danube, all the willow trees, right? You can repair this while on campaign. So your shield gets busted up during, a day sieging whatever Eastern European city, and then you can fix your shield at night and be ready to go the next day. Yeah. So cheap, cost effective, excellent at catching blades.
All right, good work, Lydia. High five. Okay, thanks. So immersive. Oh my god. It's like I could feel her high five. All right, we should find a new place and someone else should fight for a bit. All right. Let me get out of here. Oh no. Cowabunga! Okay. Yeah, I mean we had arrows in us. Okay. Lydia, I'm gonna send Lydia home. As much as I want to hang out with Lydia, you're killing things too quickly. Yeah, go take care of that incredibly valuable sword and that priceless helmet that you're using.
That helmet, which is partially paper mache,
Yeah, basically. So if I get the... Oh, that's unfortunate. Fantastic. If I get the blessing from the Higgins, I'm totally going to make another version of that for Skyrim with the horsehair crest.
There was a question about that earlier. Any sense of insignia associated with the crest? Or rank, anything to that effect?
Well, it's a gladiator's helmet, so more like... Yeah, that's sweaty. I don't know, more like property or a sports team, right?
Oh, that's odd. That's fine. Oh, that was... Okay. So I don't think you were showing off much of the crossbow earlier, right? Yeah, let's do some horseback archery.
Yeah, go. That's like exactly what that weapon is for. So you should go hunt deer from horseback with that.
Yeah. And so most of the crossbows that we do still have any extant examples of were not really battlefield examples. Most of them are the incredibly well-made and expensive. Where is this at? Is it back in the house? There it is.
Fully scanned historical horses.
Yes, fully.
Oh, if only. I'm working on it. Yeah, I do want. I've got a scan of a horse from the Cleveland Museum Park. I'd love to put that into Skyrim, but the Skyrim horses are meant to be on.
Aha.
So I might have to steal it up there.
Only if there's a
So I want everyone to know that I'm closing my right eye, even though it's virtual. Still missed. Still missed. That is a wolf. Oh. Hold on. Okay. Henkel's hanger. All right. Where'd he go? Ah. Oh, I'm sitting backwards. Hold on. So this is also not dissimilar, right, Nathan, to a late medieval hunting knife, the sort of thing that you would be carrying out for the exact purpose of, well, not necessarily slaying wolves, but effectively working as a large hunting knife. Oh.
So there's a version of this that already exists on Nexus mods.
I put a link into the chat earlier.
It's broken right now a little bit, but some of the weapons are available. Once I get the like A-OK from the Worcester Art Museum, then I'll upload this version as well, which has all of the weapons that you see.
So the sword that Alex has right now, I'm just gonna come up here so if he flails, you won't cut his.
That's fine. I will just thrust while you're near. Oh. Ah.
So this sword is an 18th century hunting sword. And it's so fast. So fast. It has staghorn.
Oh, well, that stays.
Staghorn grip. And yep, beautiful false edge. All these decorative fullers on it. That's also marked hankles on the blade, like the chef knife.
Yeah, there's a
Same village.
Henkel store in the Mall of America.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it still exists, and this is
An earlier product.
What's the button to look at the inventory?
yeah. It'd be like, is this still under warranty?
I think that's a great idea to bring this in.
That should be an Oakeshott April Fools.
Oh, totally.
I don't know how it was. Get that number.
But the curve of the grip on this hits the hand so perfectly. It's utterly
You may have to relay some other balance.
So are we looking at the Henkel?
Yep.
So the curve of the grip you were saying, go ahead.
So the curve of the grip fits the hand perfectly for a right-handed person.
Not this hand, because we have a like a hammer grip in game.
It's a little weird.
But if we're looking at your real hand right
At my
there,
real hand, your thumb fits up underneath that edge of the guard that locks your hand
right there.
right into it. And this thing is just utterly killer. It's my favorite. And now, Dale, now that you said that, totally gonna bring it to the Hankels store.
Yeah, we got it. Right.
I think we'll film it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a really fun field trip. Yeah. And so this is a civilian sword. So hunting swords were a cultural tradition, especially in Germany. It doesn't mean you hunted with this sword. It means you wore this sword while you were hunting. So it was a civilian defense weapon, an offensive weapon when you're wandering around the Black Forest looking for boars,
Caribous?
deers, whatever lived there.
So especially, you know, in a time where the hunt was a social phenomenon,
Oh yeah.
right?
Right.
It's a good place to get assassinated. It's a good place to get robbed.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely. You know, who's hunting? Only rich landowners.
Exactly. In the forests that are only proprietary to them to hunt.
Yeah.
In. So
Like the ones that are romanticized here on this crossbow.
Quite. It's just like those ones.
we totally planned that, guys.
That worked out pretty well.
So there was a question earlier about how do you reload a crossbow from horseback. In all seriousness, you have someone else do it. So there are depictions of this where people are hunting from horseback, and you have your reservoir where you trade out
Dale.
your crossbow and have people trade. Yeah, I reloaded for Alex because people pull out the Granikin assemble.
There, there was a question earlier about could you model a Kranikin or a reloading device?
I wish. So, if let's just say, into future projects, if Baldur's Gate was reload animations for crossbows, then yeah, we'll do that there.
This is us shouting out to Letter Studios. Congratulations on the end of the year, RPG of the year.
Yep, you deserved a lot more
Yeah.
time to talk about it.
Yes, you did.
So here is
What are we looking at now?
the Kranikin.
Ah, okay. So,
So, Dale's gonna hold that. So, Kranikin is a match with the crossbow we showed earlier. It is entirely handmade. The gearing on it meshes with the spine. And so you can mount it on the crossbow. The two swinging arms will hold the piece to the crossbow, and then the hooks on the end of the spine go around the rope, and you crank it, and it will.
Hmm? Yep.
There we go.
If you see there are the two plugs right next to your left, or next to your thumb.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take a look at that in a second. Those are the plugs where these would go.
Yeah, the hanging hooks.
Or, like the Kranikin that I scanned at Cleveland, you'll actually see the rope speed. They're made out of a similarly heavy wood to the bowstring.
Yep. And so you mount those on there, and then you turn the crank, and you pull the rope back. But this piece, in particular, is highly ornate.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very high prestige, decorative piece. You can see that.
Well, and even the sense of the difference between having a Kranikin that's fit to the piece that you've made versus, say, a stirrup or an arbaletrier.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah, windlass where you're just trying to crank that puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Difficult
Right.
to see, but
The
this blade
entire thing is
is
etched.
acid etched, as well as actually the rim around this plate, like almost everything.
It's utterly beautiful. I think it's actually one of the most beautiful things in the collection. Is this Kranikin.
I still want to do this, and maybe we will someday, but one thing that's really fascinating about this piece is all of the exterior is ornately decorated, and the interior shows all of the shortcuts that the craftspeople making it were willing to take, because
Do we have a good example here?
The inside, and then on the outside is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen,
Yeah.
which is just so medieval / Renaissance.
Right. It had to
Like just-
work on the inside.
Exactly. It works, but beyond that, you don't really care that much.
Well, why would you take shortcuts for things on the inside?
Because no one's gonna see it.
Is it going to
Yeah.
still work?
Oh yeah, it works. Until it doesn't, and then you fix it.
Right.
And then some other smith is going to be like, "Oh, very nice, except this part."
This Kranikin in particular has a section where you can see a scene where several of the teeth were either replaced or like in the process of making it had to be redone. And so like you would have a hard time selling that today.
Well, and that's not.
People
I
would be
mean,
upset.
none of the teeth are going to be standard sized either.
Actually, they're pretty damn close.
So how do you get to that?
Standard to the.
Standard to the gear they made.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? How do you make a gear? All right.
Thing.
We'll figure it out by the next stream. Nathan will make us a gear.
We'll talk to a clockmaker.
Yeah, that's who we need to talk to.
Clockmaker, and they will tell us how.
We have a question in the chat here. What is the draw weight for that console?
A lot. I'm not sure. Not as much as a modern compound bow by any means, but if you look at
It
the
probably is heavier than a modern.
right, yeah,
Fiberglass
exactly.
arrow.
The amount of energy, so it's going to have heavier draw, but the amount of energy it's going to impart is probably going to be less.
I think that on this one, we're looking at several hundred pounds at draw. But I have no idea how hard that's going to be.
I mean, so we'll shrink down.
I mean, here is the rope. Here's the cord.
Sorry. Say again about the cord.
So this is the cord from that crossbow, and it's 3/4 of an inch thick. So this gives us some idea of how heavy the draw is on that crossbow. This is probably 50, 60 strands of corded, what I assume to be linen, probably, but I don't know. But it looks to me like linen or sisal or hemp. And if you think of a modern bowstring, they are a tenth as big around as this, right? Which gives us an idea of how much force there is in that pull, although there's also relative material strengths going on here too.
But you can just tell if you look at the bow, Alex.
Yep. So we're looking at the bow.
Look at the bow itself.
Oh, the bow.
Yeah, if you look at the bow itself, the thickness of that.
Yeah, because that's at
spring.
least
That's
what,
just spring steel.
almost an inch or more at the thickest point,
It's probably 3/4.
and then down to what, like about a millimeter by the end.
No, it's still fairly robust. Yeah.
Mm. Oop.
Sorry,
It's a huge bar.
No, you're fine.
Seeing in person, it's formidable.
but you can see how on that piece as well that like they even acid etched the top of the bow, like the top and the bottom of the bows have this etched knotwork.
Mm-hmm.
So this right here, this is the kind of thing where I'm just still kind of flabbergasted
Duck.
that you can do in Skyrim.
Pheasant, grouse.
Every 13-year-old can be the elector of Saxony.
Hard to say. Swan or goose.
That's upset at you.
Well, I mean, I'm also staring down the I'm staring down the end of the quarrel as well as we're looking at.
We'll have to quickly swap through that.
Right. Any other questions about the crossbow? If not, maybe we'll go. Where'd the horse go? Ah. I think we want to go for maybe an opportunity to demonstrate some of the other weapons and how proficient or not they are compared to actual use of some of these weapons. So if we look at, I don't necessarily want to fight wolves with a rapier. Where's Moon? It's right here. Okay. So, stand. Roughly, I could use it as I normally would. So, a significant difficulty for anybody who does practice with swords is that this doesn't have any of the normal weight. So the sense of, I mean, other than the virtual reality space and attempting to move accurately within, there's no sense of the feedback of the weight of the object that is informing you where exactly the sword is when your eyes are not on it. There's also the sense of attempting to use, am I at the camera?
Yes.
So attempting to use the two hands mod here, which you could to grip the sword as you normally might, but my hands, as you can see, are still quite separated, so I don't have any of the normal visceral feedback of attempting to use the blade as you might if it were real. Thank you. It's hard to tell. I have to do all of the motions to make sure that I don't get seasick. I'll go more towards the camera again if it's actually entertaining. I need to go. Can we fast travel? Go somewhere maybe with people? Oh, also, how about that? Do we have an uncleared fort? That looks uncleared.
That is the one that we were just at.
Well, will they have respawned?
So if you go back to Minecraft,
All right. Where do you want to go? Solitude?
Need a ride?
Hold on. Yeah.
I can take you to any of the hold capitals.
Oh, I see.
Where do you want to go?
Okay, we're gonna spend 20 of your gold here, Dale. Also, as we're spending, oh, do I need to get in the back? That's right. So as we're spending 20 of your own gold here to travel across the continent, this might be a decent time to plug the Patreon, the Oakeshott Institute Patreon, where anybody who is interested in supporting our 501c3 nonprofit preservation of arms, armor, and public education, you can find us and support us there. Yeah, we're really bad about actually maintaining the funding to keep everything going here, but any amount of support is appreciated.
What could it mean? Return of the Dragonborn? Who among us would take
Careful, Alex. I feel like there might be wolves.
There might be. I could also attempt to engage someone I wasn't normally supposed to be engaging with, but it's a human. So if we're looking at, say, a rapier, and how am I for distance?
By the gods, it's true, isn't it? A dragon has attacked.
Just want to make sure that I'm in a decent position for... Oop. That's right. Nope. So the direct translation is not perfect. Also having no easy ability to block other than holding it like this. So, I mean, what's the problem, obviously, of holding a blade like this for blocking? Another element of video gaming. Obviously, it's a sense of, yeah, it's protecting maybe the outside of the body. That's fine. That's good coverage, right?
No one would ever cut off your hand.
Really?
It's not allowed.
The ones way out here?
Sword fighting doesn't happen.
What about if there's going to be, like... Did you kill everybody inside as well? I think there's a bandit camp nearby we can find. But the sense of even with a magical sword, losing fingers like this, getting cut on the arm, getting cut on the wrist, anything open on the side. Comparably, it's very hard to program what would be an actual position of any number of appropriate guards. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad facsimile. Mm-hmm. Actually, I should look at where I'm going. Ah.
You're as good as dead.
All right. Do you want to jump in? Or do you just want to talk?
I'm gonna just talk here.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it. Fighting professionals. So dual wielding is all excellent in video games. There is historical precedent for it in many different martial arts systems in the world, historical and modern. The one, yes, exactly. So remember the one thing we were just talking about, how nice it is to have fingers to manipulate swords with, and arms to manipulate swords with. To use all those like incredible muscles you can use to like project a piece of sharp metal forward and incapacitate an opponent potentially. That becomes very hard to do when you've got two of those things. It also becomes a lot easier to cut your own self. Either cut your arm or both of these blades that I demonstrated earlier, they both have really great false edges that are very sharp and actually can land concussive blows. So if you don't cut somebody, you're going to sure as hell break some bones or hit them in the head and you will knock them out. Yeah, exactly.
functional combative
And they hit me. So. Enough to think about once. Yes. For someone who is.
Also, fighting bears, not as easy with two swords. What was the sprint button, Dale? Oh, that's not the sprint button. There was a sprint button somewhere. Oh, hello. So we're gonna jump back to the, well, I guess we jump back to the normal Skyrim approach of being a sneaky archer. But maybe we'll wait. Well, okay, that doesn't help.
Okay, let's set the record straight. Alex has demonstrated everything I said is wrong. All these Montcade martial arts manuals that we are translating are all wrong. Dual wielding is the shit. So.
Killed that bear.
That's right, against bears. Against bears.
Though I will say, one of the pieces that I want to add in later is we have a scan of a guitar, so a push, which actually we have one. And you see depictions of guitars used a lot in hunting.
Oh, sorry, all right. It's all right, Dale. I will just thrust instead.
I'll stay behind you, so this is where you use your motion.
Oh yes, that's actually very helpful. Right.
And I'll speak into the microphone. Guitars are often depicted in tiger hunts, especially in heroic depictions of tiger hunts, especially in the subcontinent, in the act of actually killing the tiger.
Oh yeah.
So we will have to do that against some saber-toothed tigers at some point, whenever I get the guitar scans.
Yeah. So effectively, and again, not a montantes, but the same sense of like. You're supposed to move behind me.
I was trying.
Ah!
You won't live to see.
The other weird thing is just how much you want, in a regular sense, to actually be moving your feet in real practice, especially with something like the montante, and I'm going to get wrapped in the cord attempting to do that. So the sense of translation is not one-to-one, but I think it makes for a really interesting, thought-provoking element of what does it mean to represent the historicity of physical objects in a virtual space, one that's meant to be entertaining, right? It's not really looking for full realism outside of a few very dedicated examples, like I think the Hellish Court folks are trying to go more of a realistic facsimile. But how much realism do we really want in our artifacts? And it's an interesting focus of a lot of the research for the Oakeshott Institute. So the Institute itself, all of the pieces in the collection are kept in a trust specifically for the purpose of putting them into the hands, the sword into the hand of the average person. You were at Oakeshott when he founded the Institute with Chris Poor. Sorry, grab. Nope. Oh, draw cut. Founded the collection, though, as an attempt to maintain public access, to keep the swords not just living under glass in multiple private collections for hundreds of years, but putting them into the hands of students and researchers and just people who are generally interested in swords and armor and learning more about the objects from actually handling them. And again, unfortunately, there's elements of the physical objects that we can't really replicate yet in a format like Skyrim, but this is a closer facsimile than I think you're going to get in most video game representations of weapons. And we'll see, I think, if we can't start to do more with some of the other modding. Effectively, somewhere we've got Dale running on the machine of learning every single graphics user engine just so that we can start to program these into mods and sell them to you.
We're coming for Fortnite. I think that's our next big plan. Elden Ring.
Hey, that's fine, yeah.
You know, in anticipation, maybe some DLCs.
Yeah. I want it in Monster Hunter. This feels like a good Monster Hunter weapon.
Some of the like World War II games, how that moves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can go and find a bombed out French church and pick up your French sword and take it to combat.
All right. Any other weapons we haven't looked at yet?
I don't know. You want to try something, Nathan? Okay.
Okay.
We may wrap it up.
Any other last-minute questions in chat?
We may have to wait a minute for.
Yeah, I can hold off. I'll walk slowly through the landscape and just say thank you to everyone who was able to show up for our test stream.
Impromptu test stream.
Oh. Nice job, everybody. And again, for anybody who's interested in hearing more about swords and holiday festivities, we're going to be doing a stream tomorrow, a Yuletide micro-lecture stream. Most of the Oakeshott Fellows will be present talking about briefly each of our favorite pieces. And that's going to be from 3 to 5 p.m. Central Time, USA, starting tomorrow. Again, 3 to 5 p.m. Drop in. Feel free to give us any questions in the chat. Request even specific swords. We don't necessarily have a hard end time, so we can keep talking as long as there are questions. All right. We got anything else? All right. I'll hand it over.
Yep. Okay. Return back to the center of the play area. Yeah, it's terrifying. I really wish I couldn't. I wish I could not see you and I could focus on this. It really is. Right here. Do you want to see the Northern Lights in VR? It's really satisfying.
I've never seen them in real.
Oh, fuck.
What the? It's too beautiful. I can't do it.
You can't handle it? All right. Well, thanks for letting us do a test and see if we can figure out this streaming of more complex video than just lectures. I imagine this will not be the last time that we do this. There's already been a request for us to try, what is it, Blade and Sorcery? Blade and Sorcery? Yeah. Which, if it's discounted on Steam over the winter, I will pick it up. I'll see how difficult it is to actually mod some things in there. Because I know that has much more realistic sword fighting, and I'd love to take my knowledge of fencing and try and put it into actual practical use. Yeah. So, thank you all. We will see you next time. I'm going to quit. Goodbye.